in the United States, it's bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans. This is very disillusioning to many people, but here's the simple reality of it. Politics is about power. Unfortunately, this is what a lot of us don't like to think about. We think it's about values and ideals and statesmanship, honesty, but it's really about power. And people in politics are there because of power.
I am delighted to have this opportunity to talk to so many of the salespeople who help our economy grow and help keep the American dream alive for millions of Americans. In America, if you work hard and play by the rules, if you take responsibility for yourself and your family, you should have all the opportunity you need for a better future.
The Trump network wants to give millions of people renewed hope and with an exciting plan to opt out of the recession with cutting-edge health and wellness formulas and a system where you can develop your own financial independence. The Trump network offers people the opportunity to achieve their American dream.
The Trump network's flagship product was sending boxes of pee through the mail in exchange for vitamins.
A reported 20,000 independent sales representatives bought the Trump network products and tried to recruit others to sell them too. But within 2.5 years, the recession-proof business collapsed. Trump declined our request for an interview. His attorney says he did not own the company or make the products. He also said Trump never endorsed the merchandise, despite this letter signed by Trump saying, "I believe in the Trump network products."
I heard in one of your interviews that you also studied the 1%, because one problem that I have is when I say that 99% lose money. So they tell me, well, then there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a 1% chance. But I also have information that even the 1% doesn't even make money because they have to put on a show, they have to buy these expensive cars, and they have to look rich. So can you tell me just about that, like what you found out about the 1%?
Okay, so this is not new. This is not new information. It's actually, again, it's been around, but it's been covered up largely or obscured. But let's go all the way back 40 years. Multi-level marketing really got its legalization in the United States. Remember, it is a thing. Multi-level marketing is a thing. It was created, it was invented in 1945 by two men, a cemetery plot sales guy and a pop psychologist who was hawking a book, right? Neither of them were successful.
Yes.
And they invented this scheme to go along with a vitamin sales business.
Yes.
And it was essentially the pyramid scheme, the Ponzi scheme, the chain letter all wrapped together. So it moved forward and then it was prosecuted. Finally, the government sort of figured out that this is a scam and should be stopped, that it's corrupting the marketplace. But in 1980, it got the government in the United States, essentially during the Ronald Reagan years, endorsed it, supported it, and allowed it. And then it began to spread, right? So it is a thing. It is a definable thing. It has traits. It has a history, has an identity. Very few people have ever actually looked at it. Now, it's been going on all these years. So in 1980, after that decision by the government in 1982, so we're going back a long ways, 40 years, one state in the United States, led by one regulator, saw an upsurge suddenly in his state of complaints from people saying, I bought into this thing called Amway and I lost my money. And the things they told me didn't come true at all. The product can't be sold. It's high priced. Nobody needs it. They're adding more and more salespeople. They promised all kinds of high income, or at least the person that recruited me did. None of it was true. So he began investigating it, the regulator, and he was the assistant attorney general. And they brought a case against Amway for deceptive income claims. In support of their case, they examined the tax records of the people in Amway in that one state. And there were thousands and thousands of them just in that one state. what they did is they looked only at the top 1%, what they called the direct salesmen. These were people that had reached a certain level of recruiting and purchasing, and of that group, they looked at their tax records because they're the government. They could do that.
Yes.
And what they found is that the average income of that top 1% net was minus $900.
Oh.
So the top 1% on average lost money. So this has been duplicated now. The government of the United Kingdom, England, also prosecuted Amway all the way up to in 2007. The same story. They found exactly the same data. And I've examined this data for years from these different companies. It's always the same. But think about this now. It's so hard to say this out loud. Here's something spreading all over the world. People all excited, even your friends and relatives talking about how wonderful it is. And then I come forward, or you come forward and say, did you know that actually not 1% make money, but maybe a 1/10 of 1%. That's 1 in 1,000. But actually, that's not even true. It's worse than that, because to get a true picture of how many people make money, let's say in Amway or Herbalife, or you have to say, well, for over what period of time? It's been in business for many years. Well, let's take a 10-year picture then. Of all the people who joined and quit and joined over 10 years, what percentage of them had a net profit? It would be so small, Elaine. It would be far, far, far less than 1%. Now, this is almost unthinkable. This is almost unimaginable, because you say, how could this be? I just came from a meeting. There were thousands of people there. They were all excited. Their eyes were glowing. The guy on the stage was wearing a beautiful Rolex watch, dressed in an Italian suit. He had a Maserati car, a Rolls Royce out front of the building. And you're telling me that not even 1 in 1,000 actually make money, and that all these people at the end who join every year, almost every one of them is going to lose and quit and be replaced by others? And I say, yes, exactly. I even have the data to show you, but it's so unbelievable. But gradually, I think people are beginning to get, oh my God, this has got to be the biggest scam ever.
Exactly.
It's making a claim of such magnitude. It's what they call the big lie. The big lie is a lie so big, the average person cannot imagine someone would dare tell such a lie if it weren't true. Who would dare make up a story that this is the greatest income opportunity in the world when less than 1 in 1,000 ever make any money? And they only make money by getting the money from the others who lose. So it's deceptive. It's not even real income. It's not even real income.
So in your book and through our correspondence, what struck me the most is how convenient it is for the government to just keep this going, because you made me realize it's a delusion to distract us from doing the things that we have to do, for advocating for change, for higher minimum wages, for better opportunities, better health care. Can you explain that, the government's role in this, or the lack thereof? Yeah.
And this, for me, the bit of feedback that I have gotten from various people since reading the book, many of them tell me the hardest part for me was the political part.
Yes.
Because what you showed was that it's in the United States, it's bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans, even people that I thought, for example, Madeleine Albright. Many people greatly admire her. She was Secretary of State. I think she was the first female Secretary of State of America. She's received, her foundation received almost $10 million from Herbalife.
Oh my gosh.
And she's on YouTube being interviewed by Herbalife, saying how wonderful it is for people in poor countries that it will lift them out of poverty. Can you imagine? This is very disillusioning to many people, but here's the simple reality of it. Politics is about power. Unfortunately, this is what a lot of us don't like to think about. We think it's about values and ideals and statesmanship, honesty, but it's really about power. And people in politics are there because of power. And the power includes campaign money, bribery, corruption. It includes many things. So the issue then becomes that for the government, when this scam operates, it's telling on the streets, millions of people, it's telling these people, us, everybody, that there's hope, and that the market, the business community has a program that will work for everybody. There is no reason for anyone to be poor because this is available to them if they just work it. That there's no need for social services or safety nets, pensions. There's no need for that because there's a business opportunity that if you would just avail yourself of it and commit yourself to it, you could be quite wealthy even. There's no reason for you to be poor or disadvantaged. You have no reason for that if you can take this. Well, if you were in government and that message is being spread among your people who hear it, and if they believe it, they're not going to come to you saying, I want higher wages, I want Social Security, I want unemployment insurance, better health. They're not going to say that because they're so busy pursuing this dream world of multi-level marketing. So it sort of takes the government off the hook. The responsibility of the government is removed, so to speak, here. And for many politicians, that's pretty good. That means nobody's going to get me to do anything. It's even better because to keep me from looking into this, because I kind of have heard that some people are harmed by this, the companies that are doing this are offering me money, campaign money, speaking fees. One of our ex-presidents was paid
Bill Clinton
$700,000 to give a speech at an Amway meeting in Japan, right? So, you know, it's money flowing in and pressure taken off from me.
It's perfect.
It's a perfect thing. But let's go even a little further down the line, because there's another element to this that is less corrupt, really, than that. It is a regulator's job is to protect people, to enforce fairness, protect markets, and so on. It's not an easy job because when you do, the people that are perpetrating these unfair practices are going to object, and they're going to pressure you, and they try to get you fired, and so on. So just doing this kind of work takes some certain amount of moral courage and civic duty, right? It takes that. But in this case, if you do prosecute a pyramid scheme, because I have seen this, and perhaps you have too, I have seen in cases where the government prosecuted the pyramid scheme and riots occurred. People that had invested their money went, berserk. Saying, you can't shut this down. I've got $5,000 invested in this. I can't get it back unless the scheme continues.
Exactly.
So they will hate the government. Some people will, for taking away the opportunity, even though it's a false opportunity, but they don't realize that. So the government does not make friends. Really, when it prosecutes pyramid. This is in the past. Now, I think this is changing. This is beginning to change. But in the past, they did not make friends. Moreover, if they pursued and prosecuted the scheme and stopped it, they really didn't get many points. People who were in it are mad. They're mad at the government because they lost their money. People who were not in it, they didn't care. So they don't thank anybody. They don't go into the government saying, thank you for doing a great job. And we know that took courage. So they get no thanks. They get a lot of pressure. They made enemies. So you can see it's not easy it's a lose-lose thing for, now, again, I think this is changing. Voices like your own, others that are developing around the world, the Reddit community, and it's building to where regulators now could say, I know it's a scam, and I know people are being harmed, and now I have a base on which would support me if I do my job and prosecute them, you know?
Yeah.
And even politicians in office can say, I might actually win points with the public for doing
Yeah.
this.
Yes. Because Robert, what they don't realize, because I work in the welfare, and I've seen a lot of this MLM distributors applying for welfare. So it means that even if you are not part of this pyramid scheme or this MLM, you are subsidizing them. You are paying money to them. So I think the more they understand this, that everyone is affected. Even if you haven't bought a product, or even if you haven't signed up, you are affected. Every single one.
The net
Yeah.
effect, you know,
Yeah.
we talked here about how it works, the dynamics. We talked about the structure of it, how it functions as a pyramid. It has the four characteristics of a pyramid scheme, where the endless chain, you know, that's
Yeah.
supposed to expand forever. You have to pay money. You have to recruit more people. You won't make any money. And then the scheme itself transfers the money from the last one's end directly to the people at the top. So
Yeah.
that's the way MLM works. But if you step back from the whole thing and just look at it, it's in 170 countries now. It has 120 million people enrolled every year in it. The net effect, wherever it goes, is to impoverish.
Yes.
It lowers the quality, the economy, the livelihood of wherever it goes. It sucks money out of the community and gives it to a little handful, and most of it, honestly, is going right back up to these few little people at the top of these scams in the United States. It's being pulled out of the Philippines, goes right to the top of these schemes. They're in Utah, they're in Michigan, they're all, you know, they're in Texas. These few people, a handful, are becoming billionaires by telling this big lie and spreading this delusion about this scheme that is based on an endless chain of expands forever, infinite, unlimited, and so on. And then covered up with products that are ridiculously overpriced and serve as just the way to transfer the money.
In one of your interviews, you said, imagine a world without any MLM products. If we remove all the MLM products, it won't matter.
Nobody would notice. Nobody would notice.
Yeah.
The economy would not be harmed. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing would be affected.
Nothing's gonna happen. So I just want the audience to think about that, right? After all the truth bombs that I tell my viewers, I want to end with like a hopeful note, a positive note, especially like our loved ones who are caught into this, because I read like hundreds of emails begging me to help them for their loved ones to get out of these schemes. And how can we prevent this? Like, what can we do?
I think the first thing I think should be said to many people, you know, multi-level marketing spreads this idea. Here's the greatest opportunity in the world. It's up to you. It's available to you. But if you don't succeed at it, it's your fault. And so people walk around with this shame of being the loser, and they keep silent. And my first message to people is, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
We're a very sophisticated fraud, a very sophisticated scam. And it's backed by many people in government and high places. So you wouldn't really have a resource to go to that would debunk this for you. Also, this idea of buyer beware, it's up to you. That concept in the marketplace. Yes, we all have to be careful what we buy, where we borrow money, but it was never intended to mean that fraud could operate without prosecution, and it's just up to you to see it and avoid it. No, it was never meant for that. This is something that has polluted the market, and if you fell victim to it, that's the fault of the people that allowed this. So you shouldn't feel shame. You shouldn't feel like, and don't take on the brand of the loser, because you were scammed by a very sophisticated fraud. As far as getting people out, I think it should be said, not to sugarcoat this at all, that the persuasion methods that are used on people into multi-level marketing are very powerful. They play upon very strong and treasured beliefs that we all hold. They exploit those. They are taking advantage of conditions that are truly difficult conditions, the pandemic just being one of them. Unemployment, low wages, and all these other things are real. It's taking advantage of that. And they use very powerful cult persuasion methods. They pull people out of objective reality and they bring them into a dream world. They tell them that there's only two ways to look at this. You're either in or you're out. They use very sophisticated disguising language for it. They tell you to avoid anybody that would ask a question or criticize this. And they exalt the leader into a godlike status. So you feel that you can't dare ask a question and so on. These are all the typical dominating persuasion methods used by cults. So if someone is involved in it, you should recognize that they have been subjected to these kinds of methods. But we do know time is on people's side, because most people don't even last a year in multi-level marketing. Eventually, reality comes forth. They're not losing money, and they eventually come out. So patience, facts, directing them to other resources, making sure that they understand that there is other opportunities in life besides this, which is not an opportunity at all. But in general, I should say, and I said this in the book, persuading people who are in the grip of the spell cast over them, who have bitten the hook and are following the scammer leader, who's telling them that the world is available to them, wealth, opportunity, and they did it, you can too. It's a very difficult thing, and it takes patience, it takes a while. And I think the real hope is going to come from building a bigger and bigger base of awareness, to where it will not seem unspeakable, unthinkable, or unimaginable that this whole thing is just a giant scam. When that possibility becomes more a reality for people, that, oh my God, yes, this whole thing is a delusional scam, really, kind of like a crazy conspiracy theory almost, except that it had a real program, but it's a real program that could take your money. It didn't just lead you astray. It actually said, and here, pay us. After convincing you, it says, here, give us the money. When people begin to perceive it, then I think this thing will, and I used in my book the example of cigarette smoking.
Yes, correct.
I grew up in a state that was a big tobacco state. You couldn't speak about tobacco negatively. You couldn't, if you said, I think smoking harmed us, they've never proven that. They've never proven it. And that doctor that said it, he's probably getting paid by someone. They would discredit scientists. And the government supported smoking. They sent cigarettes to soldiers. They allowed cigarettes to be given to people in hospitals. The doctors recommended cigarette smoking. Now, over time, but it took quite a while. It took quite a while, years. And gradually, the reality that smoking is addictive, that it kills you, that it deforms fetuses, now people don't argue that smoke. They may still be addicted. They may still smoke, but you don't hear anybody saying, that's not true. They know they're harming themselves, and they're certainly not going to tell you that you're wrong for pointing it out. So I think multi-level marketing, we're moving in that direction, that public awareness is going to grow, and that it will be easier and easier to tell someone in your family, you're caught up in a scheme. You're being defrauded. I know it's dressed up to look good, but you know, this is a very sophisticated, and they've used cult persuasion on you too, a form of brainwashing, and you should pay attention and think about that. It will have more effect as time goes on, saying things like this. Truth, pointing out the reality, describing it in the terms, not direct selling, not business, not income, cult, scam, fraud, words like that, brainwashing, defrauding, corrupting relationships. When that language is applied, then I think more people will, you know, stay away from it and get out of it quicker.
I think we're reaching a tipping point that small voices can make a big difference. I've been doing this a few months. The amount of backlash that I get, like threatening me, destroying my reputation. Like I haven't been sued yet, but I'm pretty sure that that will come one day. But I just want to thank you. Like you've been doing this for decades and you haven't stopped. Like I I just can't imagine the amount of courage, the amount of moral obligation that I think you have, the strength of character that you have, because this is not easy. But I think like the more people see that, the more they get inspired. I got inspired by you. I got inspired by Doc Adam speaking out, and I feel like I'm inspiring others too.
Yeah.
So I hope, I hope this is the tipping point that everyone is waiting for.
The truth is very powerful. A lie is very powerful too.
Yeah.
A lie can be very powerful, but I think when the truth has enough people behind it, the lie becomes far less powerful. And I think that kind of what has guided me is that, you know, the truth is there for people to, if they will take the time to go look critically, break the spell, and look, and that's what I tried to do. You know, the book is not a flowery, it's not a bunch of tragic stories, and it's not you know, a hope-filled message or anything. It's trying to, you know, look at facts and tell the story in a way that people could understand it, and that way I understand it, and the way I came to understand it is just the way it's presented. And you said all the research I did, but I did this research over many years. So, and people taught me too. You know, I had many people call me and explain to me their experience, and for me to see the whole picture. So yeah, it's I think it starts from a premise that truth matters, right? And it does involve, I think, a basic principle that if you're going to earn income, it shouldn't be through harming other people. You know, there's plenty of good ways to earn money and do something useful in the world. And I had that thought when I came out of school, when I was a young person, that I wanted to, of course, earn a living and be independent like anybody, but I wanted to do it in a way that, you know, made a difference, and then which I felt I was expressing myself, and that has sort of guided me, and how I wound up here doing this exactly, sort of, as I say, in a way, maybe fate. But here I am, and I do think it's an expression of those values, which I think are not unique to me. Many people have those values, same values, and I can see it now as more and more people like yourself are, you know, are taking up this subject.
I just want to say you changed so many lives. You've been successful in what you want to do, in your passion, and you changed my life. If you want to know more about MLMs, like pyramid schemes, please get this book. If you are in the US, it's in Amazon, but I'm gonna send a lot of books in the Philippines, and I'm gonna give it away. Also, please visit Robert's website, pyramidschemealert.org. If they want to reach out to you, tell us your Twitter handle, Robert.
At you know, at Pyramid Alert.
Yeah.
Pyramid Alert is my Twitter identity, and then of course there's an email. I have just info at Ponzinomics, or info at pyramidschemealert.org. info@ponzinomics.com. Either of those will get to me. So, and I answer emails. I answer the phone for that matter.
Yeah.
So, I talk to people.
No words to just give my gratitude to you, Robert. And I don't want this interview to end, but yeah, thank you so much for everything you do.
Well, thanks for what you're doing too, Elaine, and
Yeah.
we will speak again. This doesn't.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. I'm just not making videos. I'm also trying to collaborate. Actually, the recovering Hunbot messaged me. We're gonna do a collaboration.
Excellent. Yeah. I know her very
Yeah.
well, so that's a great connection.
As long as I think we are together, the truth will come out. I'm gonna make sure that the international community is aware on what's happening in the Philippines. So don't lose hope. Keep telling the truth. Before the end of my video, I always say the only people mad at you for telling the truth are the people who are living a lie. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Elaine.
Truth is beautiful. Talking to everyone else.